You cannot speak the song.
All right, I'm dying here. Okay, ready? Here we go. Today is Halloween, October 31st. It is 6:56 in the morning. Whew, and this is the Board State. The Board State is a weekly YouTube show, sort of a podcast as well, where we cover game design for social good. My name is Jeffrey Vierra, aka Mr. V, and I am joined with, as always,
Jack.
good morning, sir. How are you?
Da-dun. Yeah, I'm doing good.
So just a warning, we're going to do our best to not talk about a certain show that aired yesterday that will make most of you renew a certain subscription service. We're going to be really vague about this. A subscription service that single-handedly is carrying a franchise right now. And we're not going to talk about anything about that because it's, yeah, we don't want to ruin your experience. I'm sure you're all going to be watching this said show and see said event and said thing that happened that will make you blow your mind. Okay, but that's not what we're going to talk about.
If you're not a part of the US, grab a VPN.
Is it only a US thing?
Yeah. Yeah. For the foreseeable. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so what do we do in this show is we go through we send out these everything is going to be in the parlance of this. Everything is going to be in the parlance of that show now. We send out these these probes to different planets to look for rebel insurgencies, and they come back with articles. One such planet called Hoth. There was okay. Stop this! All right, we we scour the internet and we look for articles that have to deal with either really cool, exciting tabletop news or related directly to indie design and game design for social good. The first article of today, tabletop games are coming from ex-Blizzard VPs who worked on Warcraft and Overcraft, which is an oversight. There's more stuff they worked on. This is by dicebreaker.com, which is an actually really cool YouTube show. I've been digging all the Dicebreaker stuff. And ladies and gents, this article blew my mind. This isn't even the original article that I read about when it first came out. I just kept reading, successive articles, trying to get more information about it. And this is by, dicebreaker.com. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Honestly, this is what we're going to see a lot more of. AAA devs not only just leaving the mainstream companies, but also joining companies or making companies that they want to be a part of. Like, one notable quote in the article was, "Tabletop is where I learn," and this is from the ex-Blizzard guy. Sorry, I'm not a fan of Blizzard. I'm a fan of Poland Strong and, CD Projekt. But hey, what he said is very good, and I want our listeners to focus on that, which is tabletop is where I learned to be creative with my friends growing up, playing D&D, playing Warhammer. Even after the glorious Blizzard experience, I want that intimate scale again.
Yep.
And you're gonna see a whole mass migration back to this simpler scale because this is where a lot of the veteran game developers found their roots in. We're only gonna see more of this in the coming future.
Okay. I used to worship. Why? Take it to that. I still view Chris Metzen in the highest regard. He was very influential for me. We went to one year in BlizzCon. We made a shirt that said "Friends of Chris Metzen" and had his face on it. Me and my friend Preston and Gerald. We walked around with that shirt. He is one of the pillars, or it was, that made up Blizzard Entertainment, which I think it's safe to say is still my favorite, despite partnering with another said company. It's still my favorite. I will buy everything Blizzard makes. They don't make bad games, in my opinion. Their games are always the high watermark in the AAA space. And Chris Metzen was their lore creator. He was their story guy. The universe of essentially all their games pretty much spawned from his head. Of course, the credit goes to the other people as well, but really he was that singularity that moved through Blizzard, and he's just a really cool, awesome rock star of a dude. Whenever he would talk at BlizzCon and speak to people, just really, really humble and cool. And so that's just a little bit about him. And that quote that and then also Mike Gil Martin as well, which is an ex Blizzard employee at a high level. I mean, these are like old school employees when Blizzard was the gaming industry essentially. And so two things. One, that quote that you said, that returning back to tabletop brings that intimate scale back into gaming, and that's something that I'm not going to forget that that he said as a quote. And that's a key thing, right? The intimate setting, sitting down in front of friends physically and playing a game and sharing the experience. I think that's really, really important. The other thing that so he retired from Blizzard, which was a shock at the time. But the second quote that I want to highlight is referencing the frantic pace of video game development and the subsequent explosion of World of Warcraft, changing his creative team into service provider of this big giant game, right? So this interview highlighted Metzen's desire to create something smaller scale that he and Gil Martin will be able to control. So that infers that it was this monster that was created, right? Jack, I think you're the mouse like thing. Can you move it away from the mic just a little bit? Because whenever you hit the scroll bar, it goes wait. It sounds like like you're torturing someone or you're fly fishing or something.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. If possible, dude. Thanks. So it infers that he in some ways we kind of experience some of this. We create this thing and then it just starts to balloon out, right? And it's just three of us. This thing kind of gets hard to kind of keep the reins on. So oftentimes we'll just kind of let it go and go off into the universe. But yeah, I can sort of imagine what that is like, even though we're operating on a micro scale of what Blizzard is. But he saw something that was really important, because and intimate, become this larger entity that was hard to control. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm really excited to see whatever's coming out of this team. I would imagine Metzen's going to be the story guy. I'm sure it's going to be, there's that reap. Right? Jack. Your mouse, man.
I'm okay. Look, okay, fine. I'm not touching it. Okay. Fine.
No. Well, you have to look at the articles too, but it's maybe that'll be like a sound clip that we use for things. Right. Here it is again.
Yeah. I'm not even touching.
Oh, really?
It. No.
What is it? SCP? Is it the SCP?
Okay, now it's gonna say Polish.
Oh. All right. Anyway, that is tabletop games are coming from ex-Blizzard VPs who worked on Warcraft and Overwatch by the Dicebreaker. Another forewarning, I've had very little sleep, which I value sleep almost as much as I value games. So sleep for me is so important. It's very good for my brain. I recommend sleep as well. It's something free that we can all do, and just has enormous health benefits. But anyway, I had to go to this Halloween party thing last night, ladies and gents. And I thought it was supposed to be today, the day of Halloween, when you would celebrate Halloween. No, it wasn't. So I had to scramble and do this thing late night. So it was unplanned, which I don't like to do things unplanned. And I ended up staying up later than I should. So my brain may be more foggy than usual. All right. Next article by Washington Daily News. And this is an old school theme Accents Church drive-thru fall festival. There's a ring. Yeah. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Honestly, we're going to also see a lot more of this. Well, gamifying stuff that you wouldn't have thought of, like trick-or-treating, is becoming more and more popular, especially now with pandemic. And this is also allowing for not just older kids to have fun in not just creating, but trying to figure out, oh, what is that reference from? Oh, where is that game piece from? And trying to put together the puzzle of what game they were honoring or trying to do, but it's also allowed the kids to experience the game in a whole new way. If it's a ball game, now they could see it in real life. And if it's a video game, now they could touch it in real life. So you're gonna see more possibilities like this. However, for this year, they mainly focus on Candyland. And it's, of course, this is beginner entry level, guys. We're not expecting them to, make a game about Sight or Ticket to Ride. But making games where everyone has like a common knowledge of. In fact, I saw a trailer for the cooking channel is making a TV show about Candyland and
Really? Is that right?
Yeah, and
cool.
having cooks trying to make either decorations or that is edible but looks awesome at the same time.
Huh.
So you're going to see a lot more of gamifying stuff that you wouldn't think. Now we're seeing it in churches, and it will continue and continue until it's either gonna be like Poland, where it's normal and it's not really a thing anymore, or it's gonna be like football over here. Well, it's more and more seen as like a prestigious position. And that's where it's going to come down to. It will really be up to us to decide what that future is going to be. Because it's going to have gaming, but how it's going to be.
I was just thinking, we should do on one of our grape. There it is again. SCP. I was thinking what we should do for one of our gaming nights is we should bring some like classic games, like, I'm not gonna say the name, begins with an M, ends with an Alopoly. But things like Candyland, stuff like that, we should play it and then really kind of put a new like sit down and do like a deep dive and how we could improve this and move it up to like a contemporary type of design setting. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think Monopoly will be awesome for that.
Yeah, or I'll just get frustrated and throw it down the hill or something. Either one. Anyway, so what is this article about? Ladies and gents, it's a 71-year-old board game meant for quarantined children during the 1950s polio epidemic. Interesting. Has been adopted as the theme for this year's fall event for the First Church of Christ in Washington, encouraging potential participants to look out for Mr. Mint, the Gingerbread Man, Princess Lolly, and Grandma Gooey, all the characters from the board game Candyland. So for one, I think it's really cool, and I didn't know this at all, that the iconic game was invented by a retired teacher in 1949. How cool is that, right? This is something you always talk about, which I think is really important, is that anybody can make a game, right?
Yeah.
You don't need cool credentials to make a game. Anybody can make a game, and history has taught us that. And secondly, it was created while she was in the polio ward at San Diego Hospital, and longed to help and entertain the many children also there experiencing homesickness, depression, feelings of abandonment, because their parents' visits were limited by work schedules and other family needs. How cool is that? And this church saw that, and it's like, we should, theme this event with that game. It's very cool. And then to add on to what you were saying, I think that's 100% true, Jack. And also, it's another thing to think about is like, why are these games so important to us, and why are these organizations like this retheming these events with these type of games? This is not the first time we've seen organizations look at classical games, right? Even popular classical games, and base a theme on it versus small tangent, ladies and gents. But I want to share this with you. I found out something very important. So last night I was hanging out with my nieces and nephews again, for this Halloween thing, and they introduced me to AMSR. Are you familiar with that, Jack?
I was hoping nobody showed you that.
You know what it is?
Yes, I know what it is.
What is it?
It's basically they go very, very close up like this.
Yeah.
And they just talk like this, or I need stuff like.
Yeah. And these kids will watch this for hours and hours and hours. Yeah. Well, what was kind of cool was my niece was telling me, like, that's how my mom, her grandmother, puts them to sleep. They'll put on these things, on her phone, and she'll play it, and then they'll just listen to somebody eating, fried chicken or whatever, with a really clear, they'll right up to the microphone, and then they fall asleep to that. But also, and then my nephew was like, oh yeah, I watch that all the time. I just sit down and watch that. Like, wow.
I mean, I watch people, I watch, 096 screaming for 24 hours sometimes, but only out of curiosity.
Jack, we should do an AMSR gaming. We just bring the camera, like, we're not really even playing the game. We bring the camera like real close to the board, and then we just roll dice.